as a solo female RVer, are you scared? And I'm going to answer that question. I'm also going to give you my 3 scariest stories. And I have been in some jams by myself out there on the road. And I'm also going to give you my 4 tips for how I feel safer. Hey everybody, it's Robin with Creativity RV, and today I wanted to sit down and share with you my answers to the question that I get asked most of the time, which is, as a solo female RVer, are you scared? And I'm going to answer that question. I'm also going to give you my 3 scariest stories. And I have been in some jams by myself out there on the road. And I'm also going to give you my 4 tips for how I feel safer. Again, you know, I've been at this 10 months now, and so I'm still pretty new. But when you're full-timing it, you learn pretty quickly. So let me start with my 3 scariest stories. And let me tell you guys, they're embarrassing. I'm sharing this in the hopes that maybe somebody else will learn from this or get a laugh because it's similar to something they did and maybe not feel so bad. I caused them myself. So number 1, one time I was going from Trinidad, which is in Colorado, over to New Mexico. It was warm in Trinidad, and then all of a sudden I hit a mountain pass called a Raton Pass. I had never heard of this pass. I didn't know if it was dangerous. All of a sudden the fog came rolling in. The temperature took a dive like 15 degrees. And I got a little nervous because I was still pretty new in the RV. I think I'd been in the RV maybe 4 months, and I didn't know if I was coming up on some windy roads or some ice, and I got really nervous, and I decided to pull over into a truck weigh station, which also happened to be the state police station. So I pulled over into this parallel spot. It looked like there were 2 parallel spots where you could get off the highway and then back on the highway, I thought, for people like me. And so I was wearing shorts. So the first thing I wanted to do was change because it got cold. And then I was going to pull up on the internet the weather report and see if I could get some idea of how hairy this pass was. So, you know, I stopped the car and I ran into the back and I was literally changing my pants. And the whole RV started to go like this. And I thought, wow, there really is a storm coming in. That's a big gust of wind. But then I realized that the whole RV was rocking, and I turned to look out the front windshield, and my RV was going down a hill with me in the back, not in the driver's seat. And, you know, not very fast. But remember, I'm totally fogged in. As far as I know, I am literally driving off a cliff right here. So quick like a bunny, I ran downhill and jumped into the driver's seat and threw my feet on the brake. And I realized that the keys were still in ignition and I had not quite put the car in park. Now I know, stupid, but believe me, I've never made that mistake again. I had no idea that I did it. And the lesson that I got from that is, you know, like, always be mindful. That's one thing I'm trying to learn in the RV. You know, I don't hurt myself as much. I'm still covered in scrapes and bruises and all kinds of stuff, but I'm careful with what I do now. But I was able to like start the car with my fingers shaking. My fingers were shaking so bad I could barely hold the steering wheel. And I threw the car into reverse and I was able to reverse it back up the hill. I guess it was only about 15 feet, but I had gone over the bump, the asphalt bump that they put there. It was kind of a curb, and had gone all the way down the hill. Now later, when I came back and it was sunny, I realized that I would have gone down the hill into a parking lot, but I couldn't even see that parking lot. And so honestly, it was terrifying. I thought that was the end. Scariest moment number 2. Oh, the pet cemetery. Okay, so I was solo camping like I always do in Buena Vista, Colorado. This is when I was really new. And I went to this free campsite that I had heard about, and it was really hard to get there. And then once I got there, I couldn't find a good spot, but the Verizon signal was 5 bars. And so I was like, I'm going to stay here for 5 days. I'm not going to leave. The first thing I see when I get out of my RV is like a femur. And if I can find it, I'll put a picture in a picture here and show you. It looked like a human femur. It was probably from an elk or something, right? I got a bad vibe then. I thought about packing up and leaving, but it took me hours to get there and a long time to get level and find a decent spot. And I also violated one of my rules to stay safe, which I'll tell you about in a little bit. So I didn't feel terribly safe, but I got settled. There was a giant boulder which was next to my RV, and I think the picture with the femur shows you this huge boulder. So I got on the phone, I have my slippers on, I have a glass of wine, I'm talking to my boyfriend, and I start walking to just take a look around, and I go around the side of this boulder, and all of a sudden I whisper, poor guy, into the phone, "Oh my God." And he goes, "What? What?" And I was like, "Oh my God." And he said, "What?" And I go, "Please don't move, please don't move, please don't move." And I'm backing up. I'm backing up so slow. And I get into the RV and my heart is pounding. And I tell him that what I saw was a giant cat foot, I thought. And I thought that there was a mountain lion behind the boulder. And there I am, totally unprotected. I was outside without anything. Luckily I had my phone on me. So after about 20 minutes, I got the guts to go back out there, and like I gingerly went around the corner to see if I could see again what I had seen. And sure enough, it was a mountain lion, but it was dead. And it must have been, I don't know, 6 or 7 feet long. It had been there for a while. I actually got shots of that, but I won't put it here because I think it's a little disrespectful. But after that, I found hooves that were partially eaten. I found, I think, what was a baby mountain lion. I think I found probably 30 carcasses or partial carcasses right there where I was. And later I talked to a ranger, and she thought that it was a dumping ground. So maybe somebody killed the mountain lion because it was killing cattle, or I don't know. I don't know why people would just dump a bunch of carcasses there. But I was seriously creeped out. I mean, I didn't go 20 feet from my RV for 5 days, and usually I like to take walks and hike around and take pictures, and I was so settled on this site that I didn't want to go. So listen, you know, leave if you're in a pet cemetery. I found a bunch of other great campsites nearby there, and if I had just trusted that I could find another spot, then I would have left much sooner. I won't do that again. The third thing, oh God, another thing that I did that was just stupid. I was in Yosemite. I do this every time. Yellowstone. I do this every time. I was in Yellowstone. And I'm driving along and I see this sign that says scenic route, scenic byway. And I thought, oh, that'll be cool. So I turn, and I didn't read the signs properly, because it turns out that there was a little sign, which I saw later, that said no trailers, only cars. So no RVs, I assume also. So this is a one-way road, first of all, a paved road that went about 4 miles in, and then there was a dirt road that went up this hill. And, you know, when I saw the dirt road, I thought, ooh, that looks a little dicey, but let me just go up a little ways and, you know, see if that's, you know, where I'm supposed to be going. Maybe it opens up. Well, I go, and it did not open up. In fact, after about, I don't know, it probably was 70 or 80 feet. It wasn't that far in. I realized that the road was actually narrowing. And so I'm in the driver's seat, and to my left, I'm right up on the wall of this rock formation. And then my tires on the right seemed like they were pretty close to the edge. And, you know, like I said, it was curving. So I had to, by myself, reverse my way out of there, hoping that nobody came towards me, and more importantly, nobody came up behind me who was coming around one of those curves and didn't see me. And the whole time I thought that my tires might go over the edge and I could tumble off. I scraped the side of my RV on trees because I was trying to get as close to the edge as I could. And then, you know, I had to do like an 8-point turn to turn around. And then I had to go 4 miles approximately the wrong direction on that paved road. And people are losing their minds and honking at me, and I don't blame them. You know, I'm the jerk. But there was no other way. There was no turnaround there for me to get off. So, note to self, RVs don't do well on scenic byways a lot. I learned that. And always be sure that you can go where you're going. It is not a car. So I think I just got ahead of my skis there. Those were the 3 scariest things. Most people are surprised that I have not been scared by people. I'll tell you, I had some friends that tried to scare me. My very first camping trip out up by Lake George, Colorado. I had some friends up there that wanted me to go out with them, and it was late night, and I didn't want to do it, but they had some cottages nearby that they had, some cabins, and so I told them that I was just going to go back to my RV. And at nightfall, 3 of them came out to my RV, and they were scratching their fingernails down the side of my RV going, "One life. You've only got one life to live. Kara, Kelly, you know who you are." I may have screamed some profanities. I wasn't scared at all. I knew it was them. Now, that doesn't mean that if you're thinking about doing this, when you get out in your RV, you're going to be a little more on edge for the first month or so. You hear a noise outside and you peek out the window. Now I hear a noise and I barely even think about it. Now a lot of places that I go, when I turn my lights out inside, I open up the blinds. I know that I'm on gravelly areas, so if they come up, I'm going to hear them. And unless they have night vision goggles, I'm going to see them. And I go outside at night and I feel very comfortable now. And I think that is a process. I've never, woken up with a hook in my door, like the old ghost stories. And I've never had anybody hassle me. And maybe it's because I don't put out a vibe that I'm weak or I'm a victim. So I don't think people mess with me as much, and they probably shouldn't. So let me get to the things that make me feel safe. And so I'll go right to that. Number 1, I have an arsenal in here. The movie Home Alone? That movie from the 80s with the kid who hurts the burglars by setting up traps for them? I feel like my RV is Home Alone 2.0. Any edge of my RV that you come into, either I'm going to know or something's going to happen to you. And I don't know. It just makes me feel better. I have noisemakers and weapons, which I won't go into, inside the RV. When I go outside the RV and I'm in my camp chair, I have a massive, 30-foot shooter of bear spray on the side of my camp chair all the time. If I'm going to go very far away from my RV, first of all, I try and carry a spare key, just in case. And a bunch of other stuff. My favorite thing, actually, I'm going to get it so I can show you. Okay, so when I go out on a hike or something, I take a little fanny pack with me, and I keep a bunch of different things in here. But my favorite thing is I found this little glove, and it's got bear spray on it. See? So what you do is you put your hand in it, and I actually have 2 of these. So when I really want to, get down, I have one on each fist. It's actually got some, reinforced knuckles in here. And here's what I like. I'm walking, and it doesn't fall out. It's right there. And so if somebody comes at you, it's actually designed so that you're pointing the nozzle right at them if you just hold your fist out. So you just turn the little cap and spray. And so I can put this on my hand and not even worry about it. I don't have to reach for anything. I've got something right on hand if anybody messes with me. By the way, I will put a link for this down below. I have never seen anything else like it, and it's one of my favorite things in the world. Makes me feel great. So, yes, have an arsenal, whatever that means to you. A lot of people ask me if I have a gun. I'm going to go ahead and keep that information to myself. And but I will tell you that I have a lot of weapons in here. So, I'm sure that solo male travelers or just travelers do too. So women, solo female travelers, do it. You can protect yourself out here, and you should. So I'm going to steal a tip from Carolyn from Carolyn's RV Life. Of course, I binge watched her before I got out on the road. And one of the most important tips that I got from her, and this is the one that I violated up in Buena Vista with the mountain lion, is always face your exit. Now, I only have a view out of one side of my RV, really because I have a Murphy bed back here, and that blocks that view. So a lot of times I'm more concerned with parking so I have a pretty view. But the more important thing is that, if shit gets real, I can peel out and get on the road quickly without getting stuck or having to do like that 8-point turn. And I have found that that makes me feel like I'm ready to go if something happens. I don't even want to say feel safer. I'm just ready. You know, I've got keys in different locations and weapons in different locations. And if something happens, I'll probably hurt somebody and then get out of here. So my fourth tip, or my third tip, is I always let friends and family know where I am. I use Google Maps for this. I drop a pin and I share my location with them, so they get an email where I'm at. And if I'm going into a place where I think I won't have any cell reception, I tell them, look, I'm on this road. This is where I'm going. I don't know if I'll be able to talk to you once I get up there. So just so you know, I'm going this direction, and I'm planning to stay there for X amount of days. And that, you know, makes everybody happy. And if something happens, like I fall hiking, or, you know, something worse, something medical, who knows, and they don't hear from me for a few days, I know that they will send help my direction. And my final tip is that I have found that when I boondock, which is mostly all the time, I like to find a campsite that is about 2 or 3 miles from a main road, like a highway, or a town. I used to go a lot further into the backcountry, and my RV didn't have the clearance for some of the stuff that I was doing, and I was really taking a toll on the RV. I still go to really beautiful places. I am feeling like I'm in the middle of nowhere, but I'm really careful to watch my drive-in. And so if I had to hike out, for example, at night, if something happened, I know how to get out. And it would be easy for me to get into town if I needed to without the RV. And there are going to be services that are close enough to help me if something happens. Like, I don't know if you guys saw the video I did the other day, 3 knocks one night, where I got, you know, 3 different officers pounding on my door in one day, a ranger and 2 cops. I was in the middle of nowhere, and they were out there and they had a lot of gear, but I was in Blue Mountain, which is a pretty remote area, but I was close enough to towns that they had all of that stuff. So before you go, hang on, because after this, I'm going to show you a view of my current campsite so I can give you an idea of what I'm talking about. I right now am about 2 miles outside of the town of Pahrump, Nevada, which I have to tell you, I've never been here, and the name Pahrump, I thought it would be plain, but it is actually gorgeous out here. And I got some footage that I hope works out for you guys of the wild horses that are, I can see them right now, they're right outside my campsite. And the view is spectacular, but just that direction is town. That means the cell signals the cell towers are really jammed and everything with people, which isn't great. But I'm just a couple of miles from anything that I might need, and I appreciate that when I find a spot like that. So I'm going to put the coordinates for that down below. I'm also going to put this video on freecampsites.net so people can find this spot because it's not on there. But finally, I want to leave any solo travelers or solo women travelers with this thought. Don't let fear stop you from coming out on the road if you're thinking that you want to do it. This is a very rewarding experience out here. And I have to say, you know, when I was working my corporate job and I was commuting and I lived in cities, my risk was a lot higher. My risk of having an accident or being attacked or mugged or something happening was a lot higher than it is here in the desert, and near a community of RVers who I find to be mostly helpful. So we can imagine in our minds that things are going to happen that are never going to happen, and it's like death by 1,000 cuts. And I can tell you that my experience has been incredibly positive. I have been scared, but the things I've been scared about were things that I created myself. They were just problems I created myself, and every single one I learned from. So I want to leave you with that thought. If you have any comments or questions for me, or you want to start a discussion about this, please leave it in the comments below. I will respond. And if you have found this helpful, then please do subscribe to my channel. I've got a lot more good stuff coming. And like this video and ring that little bell. Thanks a lot, everybody. I'll see you next time. This is Robin from Creativity RV.